Okay, imagine for a second that you get one last message from a mentor, a guide, a really dear friend. But this isn't just any message. It's being written from a death row prison cell, and the author knows for sure that their time is almost up. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. One of history's most personal and urgent letters, the second letter to Timothy.
Chilling, right? Those are the words of the Apostle Paul. He is locked away in a Roman prison, and he is staring execution right in the face. He's not kidding himself here. So this letter, it isn't some lofty theological paper. No, it's a final, desperate, and loving charge to the person who's going to take his place. The stakes, they literally could not be any higher.
So let's set the stage. Who are the two key people at the heart of the story? Well, first, you've got Paul. He's the aging mentor, and his life's work is about to come to a very violent end. And then there's Timothy, his young protege, who Paul so affectionately calls his beloved son. And this is where you can just feel how personal this is. Paul isn't just writing to some employee or subordinate. He's bringing up Timothy's family, his grandma Lois, his mom Eunice, and he's celebrating this faith that's been handed down generation to generation. This is an intimate appeal, a message between two people who are bound by some serious trust and love. But, this letter is so much more than a fond farewell. It's a flashing red light, an urgent warning. Paul sees these two massive dangers circling Timothy and his community, and he is using his very last words to arm his friend for the fight that's coming. And Paul just cuts right to the chase. He sees that the problems Timothy's facing are coming from two directions at once. One is an internal battle, right? A struggle happening inside Timothy's own spirit. And the other, that's an external attack, coming from these corrupting influences that are trying to poison the community from the outside. All right, first up, the internal battle. Paul seems to know that Timothy might have a tendency to be a little timid, maybe a bit fearful, so he reminds him, straight up, God has not given us a spirit of fear. Instead, he's basically saying, hey, you're already equipped with a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind, or, self-discipline. The message here is so powerful. The tools you need to win that inner struggle, you already have them. And then you've got the external threat. And wow, Paul does not hold back. He gives this absolutely scathing description of these false teachers who are popping up. He calls them lovers of themselves, lovers of money, proud, brutal, and get this, people who have a form of godliness but completely deny its real power. He's painting a picture of some deep, deep character corruption here.
So the big question is, how on earth is Timothy supposed to stand firm against all of this? Well, Paul's answer is brilliant. It comes in the form of three powerful metaphors, all drawn from everyday life, designed to teach Timothy the art of endurance. First up, be a good soldier. So what does a soldier do? They focus on the mission. They push through hardship, and they try to avoid getting tangled up in all the civilian stuff that could distract them. Paul's point here is all about single-minded focus on a higher purpose. Second, be like a competing athlete. Think about it. An athlete can't win the prize just because they showed up to the race. No way. They have to train with incredible discipline, and this is crucial, they have to compete according to the rules. For Paul, this is a huge call for integrity. He's saying victory doesn't just take effort, it takes honor. And third, be a hard-working farmer. A farmer works their tail off, day in and day out, trusting that all that labor is going to lead to a harvest. It's such a perfect picture of the connection between hard work and its eventual reward. And, Paul says, the farmer is the one who has the first right to enjoy the fruit of all that labor. A soldier, an athlete, a farmer. These are Timothy's models for how to act. But here's the thing. Paul knows he's not going to be there to guide him forever. He needs to point Timothy to a source of truth that's going to outlast any single person, including himself. And this really is the core question of the entire letter, isn't it? Personal guidance. It has a time limit. When the mentor is gone, what's left? What becomes the anchor? Where is Timothy supposed to turn for direction, for correction, for what's true? And here it is, Paul's definitive answer. He points Timothy right back to the scriptures, and he frames them as not just, helpful stories, but as God-breathed, essential tools for teaching, for correcting, for training. They're the ultimate resource, the toolkit that can completely equip a person for every good work. Okay, so with that foundation set, the letter builds to its climax. This is it. This is the final handoff. Paul looks back on his own journey and then issues his last command to the man who's gonna carry the work forward.
I mean, what an incredible way to sum up a life's work. Using that same athletic metaphor he just gave to Timothy, Paul sees his own life as a fight, as a race. And now, standing at the finish line, he can say with confidence that he has completed it faithfully. And he's not boasting here. He's setting a benchmark. He's providing a model for Timothy to follow.
And just like that, the torch is passed. Timothy is now charged to preach the word. And notice how active this command is. He has to convince, rebuke, and exhort. In other words, to challenge what's wrong and to build people up in what's right. This is a constant, demanding job, and it's going to require a ton of patience and sound teaching, whether the times are good or the times are tough. When you boil it all down, this letter is really about legacy. It's about making sure that what you believe in, what you've spent your life building, will actually last after you're gone. And it kind of forces us to ask ourselves a tough question. If you had one last chance to pass on your wisdom, your convictions, your charge for the future, what would you say?